All right, let's review the filter method. There's been some confusions and some questions on this. And I'm also going to talk about filter's second argument, which is the this keyword. Okay, so as we know, filter is an array method. It doesn't mutate your array. It returns a new array and it keeps whatever elements that your callback function returns true on. So here's our array. We want a new array that only has even numbers. So we do const new ARR is equal to ARR.filter. Now, filter takes in two arguments. The first is your callback function, which you can define inside here too. Inside your callback, you can have access to the value and also the index if you want. All right, now filter needs a return statement since it's only keeping the values that are returned true. So if we do if value, so right now value is referring to each of these indexes inside of the array that it's filtering over. So if value modulo 2 is strictly equal to 0, that means it's even. We're going to return true. And then if you look on the right, we now only have the even numbers. Okay? Because, and filter is a predicate function, if your predicate function returns true, that value will be pushed into the final array in the order that it's looped over. Okay? If it's returned false or if there's no return at all, then it doesn't contain those values in the final answer. Okay. All right, let's do something else. What if we have, let's say we have an object with name, let's just call this Phil. We have a number 500. We have a function. Let's see. We have nan, and then we have, let's say, an arrow function that just returns 1. Okay, so now we can do something like if type of val does not equal to, let's say, function, then we're going to return true. Okay. Oops, I mean if type of value, not val. Oops. All right, so now we see that our functions, the regular function and the arrow function are gone because if they are that type function, it's going to not return true. Okay, so that's why we don't get it. All right, let's talk about the second argument. Did you know that there is a second argument to filter? You can do a comma here. And whatever you put in here will be referred to as the this keyword inside of filter. Okay, so let's comment this out for now. What if instead of in new ARR, I'm just going to console.log this. Let me see what we get. We get the window object as expected, right? But now let's do const ARR2 is equal to a new array. Now, let me just show you an example when we should use the second argument. Let's say this has my name Phil, 500, true. And then let's just say this has Phil also, and then just a random name like Tony. Okay, so now I'm going to do a comma here, and I'm going to type in ARR2. Okay, so now when you see I do console.log this, you see we have Phil and Tony, and no longer the window object. Okay, but how is this useful? Is there an application for this? Well, let's see. So instead of just console.logging, can we do something else? Let's do if let's say if this, right? Because this will refer to AR2. If this does not include, if it doesn't include the value, we're going to return true. Let's see what we get now. Okay, so we get 500 and true. How come we don't get Phil and how come we don't get Tony? Well, the if statement is checking, it's saying, hey, if the this, meaning AR2, doesn't have the current value that we're looping over, then push that value into the final new ARR answer. Okay, so on the first loop, value is referring to Phil on ARR1. It's checking to see, hey, does Phil, is that included in the ARR2? named by this, okay, and it is included, okay, so it's going to return false or return nothing because we're checking for the opposite, right? And then for the 500, we don't see 500 here. So 500 gets pushed into the final answer. Same thing with true. Now, if I add Tony on the first one, we don't get that either. If I delete Tony from the second one, we're going to get it. If I add in 500 on the second one, you see our final answer is not going to have that anymore. It only has true and Tony, okay? Because Phil and 500 are duplicates. So this is one way that you can filter duplicates like this. Cool, right? All right, I hope that was helpful.